You're not bad at dating. You're just attracted to people who will never choose you. Right now, you're probably scrolling through profiles wondering what's wrong with you, why every connection fizzles out, why the people you want never want you back. But here's what nobody tells you. You can't find love because you're not actually looking for it. You're looking for proof that you're worth choosing. And those are two completely different things. I'm this Destin, and by the end of this video, you'll understand why dating anxiety has nothing to do with finding the right person and everything to do with how you learned to earn love as a child. That pit in your stomach when someone gets close, that's not fear of rejection. That's fear of being seen. Let me describe your exact dating pattern. You meet someone. There's chemistry. They text you good morning. They actually ask about your life. They seem genuinely interested. And you feel it starting, that mix of excitement and terror in your chest. So you analyze. Is this moving too fast? Why are they so available? What's wrong with them? That they're this into me. You pull back just enough to test them, to see if they'll chase, to see if they'll prove they want you. Or you do the opposite. You go all in. You're available whenever they want. You adjust everything to match what you think they need. Because if you can just be enough, maybe this time they'll stay. And then it ends. You either push them away with distance or suffocate them with intensity. And you're left asking the same question. What's wrong with me? But here's what's actually happening. You learned a long time ago that love is something you earn, and you're still trying to earn it instead of just receiving it. You've become an adult who treats every conversation like a performance, who edits texts 5 times before sending, who monitors every response for signs you said something wrong. You've become an adult who's terrified of being too much, too needy, too emotional, so you make yourself smaller, easier to swallow, and then you resent them for not seeing the real you. You've become an adult who sabotages good things before they can disappoint you, who finds deal breakers in healthy people, who convinces yourself you're being picky when really you're being scared. You've become an adult who's better at almost relationships than actual ones, who excels at talking stages that go nowhere, who attracts emotionally unavailable people because available people feel too vulnerable. When was the last time someone showed consistent interest and you didn't immediately question their judgment? When was the last time you felt attracted to someone who was actually available, healthy, capable of choosing you back? Here's what happened. You learned in childhood that love is conditional, that you earn it through good behavior, achievement, being convenient. And now you can't stop auditioning for a role you've already been cast in. The people who are right for you don't need you to audition. They're not looking for a performance. They're looking for a person. And that's what you're most afraid to be. Now, let me show you exactly why this happens. Because understanding attachment psychology changes everything. What you're experiencing is anxious or avoidant attachment, sometimes both, swinging between terror of abandonment and terror of intimacy. Here's the metaphor that makes it clear. Love is a language. You learned it first from your parents, your earliest caregivers. Some people learned love is a safe home base. When you reach out, someone reaches back. Closeness is safe. Your needs matter. But you learned something different. Maybe you learned love is conditional. You're only worthy when you're achieving, performing, being good. Affection is a reward, not something you can count on. Or you learned love is unpredictable. Sometimes your parent was there, sometimes they weren't, sometimes warm, sometimes cold. So you learned to be hypervigilant, always scanning, always trying to predict the weather. Or you learned love is suffocating, that closeness means losing yourself, that people who love you also control you, don't respect boundaries. So you learned independence equals safety. That early language, that's the only language you know. You're trying to build adult relationships with vocabulary you learned when you were 5. This is attachment theory, developed by John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth. It explains how early bonding experiences literally wire your brain for adult relationships. If you have anxious attachment, your nervous system learned love is scarce. People leave. You have to work hard to keep them. So now you're constantly scanning for rejection. You need reassurance. You panic when texts go unanswered. You interpret distance as abandonment. Your nervous system asks constantly, are they still here? Do they still want me? Am I doing this right? If you have avoidant attachment, your nervous system learned depending on people is dangerous. Closeness equals loss of self. Safety means independence. So now you're allergic to vulnerability. You pull away when things get deep. You find flaws in good people. You prioritize freedom over connection. Your nervous system treats intimacy as threat. If someone gets too close, you'll be trapped, controlled, consumed. If you're fearful avoidant, you have both. You desperately want connection, and you're terrified of it. You chase people who run and run from people who chase. Come here. Go away. It makes you feel crazy. This isn't a character flaw. This is a nervous system response that was adaptive when you were young but now destroys your ability to build relationships. And here's the insidious part. Your attachment style doesn't just affect how you act. It affects who you're attracted to. Anxiously attached? You're drawn to avoidant people, inconsistent people who keep you guessing, who make you work for attention, because that dance feels like love to your nervous system. Avoidantly attached? You're drawn to anxious people who want more than you can give, whose needs feel overwhelming, because that confirms relationships are suffocating. You're literally attracted to people who recreate your original wound. Your nervous system recognizes that pattern as home. The cost? Absolutely devastating. The cost isn't just that dating is hard. It's that you're unable to accept love even when it's offered. This is the love paradox. You want love desperately. But when someone offers it, your nervous system treats it as threat. If someone is consistently available, you don't trust it. Something must be wrong with them. They must be desperate. They can't see you clearly. Because in your earliest experiences, love was scarce or came with strings. So, unconditional availability doesn't read as love. It reads as suspicious. You end up in one of two prisons, either chasing people who can't choose you or pushing away people who can. Underneath is the core wound, the belief you're fundamentally unlovable, not because of anything you did, but because of what you learned love meant. Carl Jung said this, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." You think you have bad luck. You think you keep choosing wrong. But what's happening is unconscious attachment patterns running the show. You're attracted to emotionally unavailable people because your nervous system recognizes that dynamic. It feels familiar. It feels like the love you first learned. When someone healthy, secure, actually capable of loving you shows up, your system doesn't recognize it. It feels boring, too easy, wrong. This is invisible grief. Mourning relationships that could have worked if you'd been able to accept them. Mourning the secure love you're wired to reject. Alain de Botton wrote about this. We don't fall in love with people who are good for us. We fall in love with people who feel familiar. And familiar often means recreating the exact dynamic that wounded us. That person who ghosts you for 3 days, then comes back with an excuse, they feel like home, because home was unpredictable. That person who texts every morning and follows through on plans, they feel suspicious. That's not what love looked like when you first learned it. This dating anxiety you feel, that panic when someone gets close, that compulsion to sabotage good things, that's not you being difficult. That's your nervous system trying to protect you from danger that no longer exists. You're operating as if love is something you earn, prove worthy of, or guard against. But real love, secure love, healthy love feels calm, safe, boring in the best way. And that's exactly why it terrifies you. But you can rewire this. Attachment styles aren't permanent. Your nervous system can learn a new language. So let's talk about what you actually do, because awareness without action is just another way to stay stuck. First, stop blaming the other person. Stop saying, "I just keep choosing wrong people." You're not choosing wrong. You're choosing familiar. Until you change what feels familiar, you'll keep making the same choice. Step 1 is identifying your attachment style. Not to label yourself, but to understand your patterns. Do you panic when texts go unanswered? Need constant reassurance? Interpret any distance as rejection? That's anxious attachment. Do you feel suffocated when things get serious? Prioritize independence over intimacy? Find flaws in good people right when they get close? That's avoidant attachment. Do you want connection desperately but sabotage it when it gets real? Chase people who run and run from people who chase? That's fearful avoidant attachment. Name it. You can't change a pattern you can't see. Then practice attachment awareness. Start catching yourself in the act. When you want to send that anxiety text asking if everything's okay, pause. Notice what you're feeling. What story are you telling yourself? What evidence are you using? When you want to pull away because someone's getting too close, pause. Notice what you're feeling. What are you actually afraid of? What's the real threat? You're not stopping the feelings. You're seeing them, recognizing them as old programming, not current reality. Next, do the hardest work. Grieve the love you didn't get. You can't build healthy adult relationships until you've mourned the fact that your childhood relationships weren't healthy. You needed consistent, attuned, unconditional love. You didn't get it, not because you weren't worthy, but because your caregivers were human, limited, wounded themselves. Until you grieve that, until you feel the loss of what should have been there, you'll keep trying to get it from romantic partners. You'll keep choosing people who make you work for love because that's the only kind that feels real. So grieve, feel the anger, the sadness, the unfairness. Not to blame your parents, but to release the fantasy that you can earn your way into deserving love. Then practice earn security. Intentionally choose different. If you're anxiously attached, practice self-soothing. When you want to text for reassurance, sit with discomfort instead. Build evidence you can survive uncertainty. If you're avoidantly attached, practice staying when you want to run. Share one vulnerable thing even though it terrifies you. Let someone see you. Date people who feel boring, who are consistent, who don't make you work for attention. Even though your nervous system screams something's wrong, nothing is wrong. This is what healthy feels like. It just doesn't feel familiar yet. And here's the brutal honesty. You might need therapy, not because you're broken, but because rewiring attachment is deep work. Find a therapist who specializes in attachment theory, who can help you process the original wound, who can be the secure base you never had so your nervous system learns what safe connection feels like. This isn't about blaming childhood. It's understanding your relationship struggles aren't moral failures. They're learned patterns. And learned patterns can be unlearned. Here's the truth nobody wants to tell you. The reason you can't find love is you're looking in the wrong place. You're looking for someone who will finally prove you're worth choosing. Someone whose love will heal the wound of not feeling loved enough as a child. But that person doesn't exist. No romantic partner can retroactively give you the secure attachment you needed at 3, 7, 12. What they can do is meet you as you are now. If you let them, the people actually capable of loving you, they're not the ones who make you anxious. Not the ones who trigger your chase response. Not the ones who feel like home because home was chaotic. They're the ones who feel almost boring, too easy, too available, too consistent. They're the ones your nervous system doesn't recognize as love because they're not recreating your wound. And that's exactly why you need to choose them anyway. I've watched this hundreds of times. Anxiously attached people who finally date someone secure and spend 6 months convinced it won't last because it feels too stable. Avoidantly attached people who finally let someone in and fight the urge to sabotage every day because intimacy feels overwhelming. But when they push through, when they choose secure even though it feels wrong, their nervous system learns, slowly, painfully, but it learns. They learn love doesn't have to be earned. Closeness doesn't mean losing yourself. Someone can know the real you and stay. One day they wake up and realize boring feels safe. Consistency feels like love. They're not anxious anymore because they finally believe they're worth choosing. So let me ask you something. Sit with this. What if the problem isn't that you can't find love? What if you've been finding it and rejecting it because it doesn't match your blueprint? What if the right person already showed up and you dismissed them because they didn't make you work for it? What if every relationship fails because you're attracted to people who will fail you? Time doesn't stop. The years keep moving. Every year you spend chasing unavailable people or running from available ones is a year you don't get back. You can keep blaming your exes. Keep saying there's no one good out there. Keep swiping through profiles, looking for someone who triggers your attachment wounds just right. Or you can do the work. The real work, rewiring your nervous system, grieving what you didn't get, choosing secure even when it feels wrong. The anxiety you feel in dating, it's not a warning something's wrong. It's information. Your nervous system trying to protect you from danger that doesn't exist anymore. You get to decide. Keep listening to it, or start teaching it something new. If this hit too close to home, share it with someone convinced they're just unlucky in love when really they're just wounded. Subscribe to This Destined for more essays on the psychology of becoming whole in relationships. Because here's what I believe. The goal was never to find someone who completes you, never to earn someone's love. The goal was to heal enough to accept it. And you still can.